then we have to prove that there's an actual emergency need instead of just it being an automatic right. Then doctors aren't going to be willing to...
You don't have a right to murder another human being.
It's not necessarily a right. It's just the ability to
So when your brother was in your mom's womb, was your brother a human being?
I mean, I don't want to argue that. I think that we could argue about that.
It's not an argument. It's a question. When your brother was in...
useful.
When your brother was in the womb, was it a human being?
And this is the problem. This is the problem with every type of debate that I see.
I don't believe that we could use Christianity as a good moral basis for certain laws, considering that historically speaking, Christianity has committed many atrocities. I mean, the Christian Crusades killed many people, and they destroyed a lot of our written texts that didn't agree with Christian points, like, for example, the works of Sappho.
The works of what?
Sappho.
Yeah, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Well, anyways, I understand that this is Catholicism, but also the schools in Canada that abused many Native American people. I just don't see how we could argue that Christianity is the great moral authority that you're saying it is.
You know what's crazy? For those who don't know, my name is Jojo. I have a master's degree in engineering, and I do political reaction videos just to try to be as objective as possible. The logic that she's using right now, saying that I don't know if we can use Christianity as a basis of morality, specifically in lawmaking, because Christians have done a lot of atrocities. That's kind of the same logic that racists use. And what do I mean by that? People say, I don't know if black people can be trusted. I don't know if black people are good because they've committed a lot of atrocities. We can't trust them. They can't be near us. They're disgusting. That same logic is the logic that she's using. She's using very specific examples of atrocities that Christians have committed in order to justify her extremely broad generality. That's the same thing racists do. They just replace the word Christian with black. That's the same thing. You're using specific examples to justify your extremely general claim. The only thing that I'm pointing out here is the logical fallacy. That's an unfair statement. It would be different if you pointed to the Constitution and said there's a clear separation between church and state. That's one thing. There would be another thing if you said we shouldn't use Christianity because a lot of people in America are not Christian and it could impose on their rights or their freedoms. That's another thing. But when you're using atrocities, or you're saying Christians have committed a lot of atrocities, and then you're using specific examples, that's the same logic that a bigot uses. And I'm not calling this student a bigot. She's a student. She's here to learn. Probably a young adult more than likely. Or maybe even a teenager. I'm just saying that this logic is just not the way to go. Nonetheless, let's continue. I hope you enjoy this video.
For making these laws when arguably they've done a lot of horrible things.
What moral code do you live by?
I'm a Buddhist, so I mean...
So it's all about yourself?
No, it's just about being... Well, I guess you could say that. But
I know Buddhism. So let's play it out. What is the top accomplishment of a Buddhist?
I guess just to be a good person and...
No, to reach nirvana, you know that.
Well, yes, but not everyone can reach nirvana.
I know, but you want to try to ascend, right? And so it's all about yourself, all inward looking, right? To try to limit your touch with the outside world, that the outside world is dirty and it's kind of polluted.
I don't believe as a Buddhist, that's not how I was taught, and I don't think it's fair for you to argue for Buddhism in that sense because
that's
you're
what
not
Buddhism,
a Buddhist.
No, I know plenty about Buddhism. So Buddhism, as it's written, is that the world is contaminated. We must remove ourselves from the world, and we're going to spiritually ascend ourselves by meditation.
But there's people who don't believe in that.
Well, then you don't believe in Buddhism. That's fine. It's okay.
Of Buddhism, and they believe in all different kinds of things.
Sure, that's fine.
There's different sects of Christianity. I'm just not in that sect.
Got it. So can you what moral way do you think society should live by? Not Christianity. So what way should we live by?
I think that it's not as much about morality as much as societal, and it's just societal needs. Like, For example, like abortion, we can't argue that, Christianity is the reason that we should not allow abortions when clearly there's both a medical and a societal need for abortions.
There's not a medical reason to kill babies, right? So that doesn't exist.
Okay, well, I have one example for that. My mother had vasoprevia, and they had offered her an abortion because birthing the baby would not only kill her, like if she went into labor, because the placenta had split into many little veins and covered her birth canal. If she ever went into labor, and my little brother at the time, if he had pushed on the birth canal to exit her, she would have died. Both her and her son would have died.
Did your brother survive or no?
I want to continue with this point. So she was offered the opportunity for an abortion because not only was she the main breadwinner of her family, but she is also raising 2 kids as well already. She's the right to an abortion is possibly could have saved her life. She did end up surviving, but not. I don't think that we should limit the ability to get an abortion to other women in her situation.
Wait, hold on, time out. So your brother now?
Huh?
Is your brother survive or no?
Yes, he did.
Wait, so aren't you glad your brother wasn't aborted? I mean, come on.
I don't.
What kind of argument is that? Aren't you glad your brother's not dead?
It's not that. I'm glad that he wasn't aborted.
Yes, so we're pro-life. That's what we want. We don't want your brother to be aborted. Imagine how many millions other like him are aborted.
Yes, but if my mom died,
she didn't. It's not even a good argument.
Well, there's so many people that did.
No, that's not correct. I said that earlier. It only happens a couple dozen times a year, and the baby could be delivered by C-section.
People with vasoprevia have a much higher rate of death than other women who are pregnant.
Yes, that happens maybe a couple hundred times a year, and there's 1.5 million abortions every single year. This is on the extreme of the extreme.
If we have to take away abortions, then we're taking away from everybody, even the people who have a medical need for abortion, where the baby is going to kill them if they come out.
Again, I can grant you that, fine, we'll have those exceptions. Can we make abortion illegal for the other circumstances?
No, because
so maybe it's not about those circumstances.
No,
You're just using it.
It is about those circumstances, because when we take away those rights from everyone and we go into a hospital and there's an emergency need to remove a baby, then we have to prove that there's an actual emergency need instead of just it being an automatic right. Then doctors aren't going to be willing to...
You don't have a right to murder another human being.
It's not necessarily a right. It's just the ability to be
So when your brother was in your mom's womb, was your brother a human being?
I mean, I don't want to argue that. I think that we could argue about that. It's not an argument. It's a question.
When your brother was
in, useful.
When your brother was in the womb, was it a human being?
I believe that.
And this is the problem. This is the problem with every type of debate that I see, especially when it comes to. It always comes with abortion debates. It's just a lot of logical holes in her argument. I honestly don't really know the logic she's using to support her claim. You say you support abortion. Okay, a lot of Americans support abortion. A lot of Americans don't support abortion. We've been having this argument for the past 100 years at this point when it came to abortion. Fine. Why do you support it? Why don't you support it? I always find that when I watch these type of videos, the people who don't support it have better logical arguments to me than the people who do support it. And she's kind of proving that. And the example that I'll use is this. She said she supports abortion, but then she said she's happy that her mother didn't get an abortion so that her brother was born. And then she said there are people who can pass away from abortions. But then she also said majority of people are not having fatal abortions, but she still doesn't support it. But then she also said her brother was a human in the womb. But now she's saying even though he was a human in the womb, she would still support the abortion. I'm really trying to make sense of this. I'm honestly trying to make sense of this. I'm not trying to use my own biases to sway a side or any of that. I promise I'm not. But when you have these type of debates or arguments or you're trying to push your narrative, it has to have some type of logical ladder, in my opinion. Whether you support it, whether you don't support it, whether you're leftist, whether you're conservative, have a logical ladder in your arguments, because other people will watch this video and based off of the rate that you're going now, it's no way they'll agree with you unless they're just, I don't know. But let's continue.
On my moral compass, I believe that he was, but I don't think that my moral compass should dictate the medical needs
Got it.
and the
So what
societal
moral
needs
compass?
of others.
Fine. What moral compass should we use to write laws then?
Not necessarily a single one. I think that everyone's moral compass is different, and
which
that
one
we should
wins?
be able to.
Which one should say, let's for
the
example.
one that supports women the most, the one that
By
allows
what
women
standard,
to get
though?
medical.
Why is that? Why is that good? I mean, by what book do you reference? By some moral standard you're appealing to. What is it?
Sorry, what?
No, yeah. By what moral standard do you say that we should have health care for women? Why? What? At some point, you're basing this on something. What?
So I'll answer this question for her. I'll answer this for you. If I were you, I would answer the question like this. This is why we have a Congress. We have a Congress because Congress allows different moral perspectives. And then from the different perspectives on morality within Congress, they come together to form some type of super moral compass. And that determines what laws America has. So it isn't technically one specific moral guide that they have. Everyone in Congress doesn't have the same specific moral compass. There are two main sides, Republican, Democrat. Each of them have different morals. Each of them can write laws and put them on the floor. Then from that, they vote on them. And from the group morality, they decide if America or if this will be in the best interest of America. But that's how I would answer if I was you. But I'm not giving you any cop-out. You have to be able to answer these type of questions from your perspective if you're going to debate them. It seems like you don't even really know what side you support and what side you don't support.
That it's not even a moral standard. It's in the Constitution. Women should have equal rights, and that includes the right to
You do not have a right to
choice.
murder another because life is the first right. We've been through that. But I'm saying, but at some point you say you don't want Christianity to have the moral source. So I ask you, by what moral code should we live by?
Well, I don't think there's a defining moral code that we should live by. We all
Of course
have
there is.
different-
Should we help the sick?
Well, yes,
Should we help
but
the poor?
there's okay, but my
Should
moral
we
code
feed the
as
hungry?
a Buddhist is that I should never kill an animal. And many Christians hunt. Many people, kill animals for a living. That's how
I'm
they
not
make
talking
a
about your
living.
personal. Society has to make decisions, right?
Yeah,
So-
and when society makes decisions, they should account for the fact that everyone has a different moral compass. If we're a society that, first of all, a modern society, we shouldn't be basing our moral compass off
but hold
of
on
a
second.
book
You're
made thousands of years ago.
well, first of all, Buddhism's very old too. But contradicting.
No, I agree.
Yeah,
That's why I don't think Buddhism.
but
I don't think we should ban people
there's a
going out to
contradiction
hunt
here, though.
because
Time
I
out.
don't believe in killing
At
animals.
some point, we have to decide what laws to make. We have to say something.
and I think the law.
There's a huge contradiction. She said we shouldn't be basing our morality or what we do off of a book that's made 1,000 years ago. Okay, one day the Constitution will be made 1,000 years ago. What do I mean by that? The laws that you say that we have in the Constitution, one day that will be 1,000 years ago. So somebody in 1,000 years is going to say, well, why should I listen to the Constitution on giving you rights for some random piece of paper written 1,000 years ago if God willing we're still here in 1,000 years? That's the same logic that you just used. Jesus, I can't.
Should be dependent on
what?
how we can most benefit the people already existing in our society.
Well, okay, but don't people in the womb exist?
That's you could argue that for so long. I don't think it's really useful when we're
very
talking
useful.
about.
Are you glad you weren't aborted? Are you glad you weren't aborted?
I'm not. I mean, if it was something that if aborting me would have benefited my mother far more than having me would have, then I wouldn't be necessarily angry about it. It's not.
See, I'm glad your mom did not abort you because I think life is beautiful. And I want to give that gift to as many people as possible.
Yeah, but you're also in the same turn taking that gift away from women. If a woman has a medical need and her life is in danger,
I've already
for
granted.
having this
Let's say
baby.
abortion is legal for medical circumstances. 1.4 million.
But then when we get rid of abortion for those exceptions, right, we need to think about how it is applied in the actual.
Abortion is the #1 form of birth control in the country right now. Over 1.4 million abortions every single year for non-rape, non-incest, non-life of the mother.
It's really the #1 form of birth control in this country.
Well, that we know of.
I highly doubt that.
Actually, if you
I'm
think
sorry,
about it, if you
that's
think
crazy.
about the day after pill.
That's crazy.
Right? If you think about the
People
day
are spending
after pill.
$50 for a abortion instead of like, the pull-out method, getting a condom. You really think, I'm sorry, in your twisted worldview, you really think the number one form of birth control is abortion?
Plan B.
I'm sorry, that's crazy.
No, Plan B, right? Abortifacients, at-home abortions, chemical abortions, surgical abortions, all those can be defined as abortifacients. Yes, you might be right, okay? You might say condoms are more than that. But abortion has become a form of birth control. Can you agree with that?
I mean, anything that, well, all of it, obviously, anything can be considered birth control. I mean, me deciding to not have sex is birth control. I mean,
and that's what more people should do.
What?
Yeah.
I don't know, because I don't think that that's necessarily something that we can police. Like, what, you're going to go into people's bedrooms?
I'm not policing, but I'm saying, though, if you're going to decide to have sex, don't kill the baby after you have sex. Pretty simple. Because you made a decision to get pregnant.
I don't think that that's necessarily a good argument. I mean, there's more nuance to that.
There's no nuance to it. A human life exists. I can't murder someone in the crowd. Why? Because murder is wrong. You can't murder someone in a womb. Why? Because murder is wrong. Thank you for your time.
Let me know what you guys think about this debate. Let me know who you guys think won the debate. And also let me know what your perspective is on this topic. This debate has been happening forever at this point. Anyways, my name is LFR Jojo. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.